Welcome back to TPS. When we sports fans use the term tanking, we usually mean a team is purposely trying to lose in order to gain higher draft picks. On this list, we're going to talk about the teams that have been smart when it comes to tanking. They're not necessarily trying to lose games on purpose, but they make the right moves in order to set up a few years of being terrible. And that means opening up salary cap space and earning the top draft selections. I'm Justin Fraction, and today we present the 10 most successful tank jobs in sports history. At TPS, we post videos every single day, so don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe. Then click the notification bell to be notified when we post a new video. And a big shout out to Romi Arkan for suggesting this video. Or is it Romi? Or is it Romi? They don't give me pronunciations. I apologize for nothing. And we like to, if you have ideas for videos, we like to see them. Put them in the comment section. You never know, we might use one and give you a shout out. Number 10, Toronto Maple Leafs 2014-16. Despite icing a pretty talented team, the Toronto Maple Leafs missed the playoffs in 2014 and 15. That was enough for the team to pull off a scorched earth rebuild, which almost never sits well on a huge market like Toronto. Hockey Hall of Famer Brendan Shanahan was hired to take over as team president in 2014. The Maple Leafs signed prize free agent head coach Mike Babcock to an 8-year mammoth deal worth $50 million. But as far as the Leafs were concerned, they were only getting started. The Leafs had selected William Nylander with the number 8 selection in 2014, so they had one young stud to get excited about. The Leafs tanked in 2015 and added another superstar in Mitch Marner with the number 4 pick. In the offseason, Toronto traded franchise star Phil Kessel to the Penguins, receiving future 20-goal man Kasperi Kapanen in return as part of the deal. During their 2015-16 tankathon season, the Leafs sent captain Dion Phaneuf to the Ottawa Senators. The Maple Leafs finished as the NHL's worst team, securing them the best odds for the top pick. Sure enough, Toronto won the draft lottery and landed generational center Auston Matthews. In Matthews' rookie year, the Leafs went from worst in the NHL right to the postseason. They have since added more big-time stars like Patrick Marleau and John Tavares. The Leafs have built a star-studded team and have made the playoffs every year since drafting Matthews. Number 9, Boston Celtics 2013-15. The Celtics' Big Three era had come to an end, and the front office wasted no time commencing a rebuild. At the 2013 draft, they began a smart tank job and dealt fading stars Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Jason Terry, plus DJ White to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for 5 players and 3 first-round picks. Boston was one of the worst teams in 2013-14 and wound up drafting defensive stalwart Marcus Smart with the number 6 pick. In 2016, the Celtics would use Brooklyn's first-round pick, which turned out to be 3rd overall, on flashy scorer and playmaker Jaylen Brown. And a year later, the Celtics would select Jason Tatum with the number 3 pick, and he has all the makings to be a franchise superstar to build around. The Celtics used some of those assets from Brooklyn to eventually trade for Cleveland Cavaliers all-star point guard Kyrie Irving. The Celtics are now one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Their painful rebuilding project only took 2 years. Number 8, Indianapolis Colts 2011. Peyton Manning missed the entire 2011 season with a neck injury, and the Colts didn't acquire any big-named players in free agency or via trades. All they did was convince Kerry Collins to come out of retirement and replace Manning for the 2011 season. The Colts unraveled entirely without Manning and finished with the NFL's worst record at 2-14. Seeing how they didn't bother to upgrade at quarterback at any point in the offseason or regular season, you can't help but think they were on the tank train the whole time. The Colts overhauled their coaching staff and front office and moved on from notable veterans like Manning, Dallas Clark, Jeff Saturday, and Gary Brackett. They selected Stanford quarterback Andrew Luck with the first pick. As it turned out, moving on from Manning was best for both sides since, the team Manning went to did pretty great too. And the Colts, well, that's what this video is about. Well, this section. Luck took the Colts to the playoffs in his first 3 seasons, finishing with 11-5 records in each. The Colts hit a snag from 2015 to 17 as Luck dealt with various injuries, but he took them back to the playoffs in 2018 with a core consisting of Luck, T.Y. Hilton, and Darius Leonard. The Colts are suddenly back in business again. And all they had to do was tank that 1 year to secure a Pro Bowl QB in Luck after having Peyton Manning for 13 seasons. Number 7, Philadelphia 76ers 2012-17. After a disappointing 2012-13 season that saw them win just 34 games en route to missing the playoffs, new GM Sam Hinkie told the fans to trust the process, which basically meant they were going to tank. In the 2013 offseason, the 76ers dealt stud guard Drew Holiday to the Pelicans. They let Andrew Bynum leave in free agency that summer too. and it all started to come together nicely for Philly. They won just 19 games in 2013-14 and landed the number 3 pick. Philly used that on future All-Star center Joel Embiid. The 76ers would also swing a deal for Dario Saric. The Jahlil Okafor selection in 2015 didn't pan out, but Ben Simmons did. He went first overall to the 76ers in 2016. The 6'10" point guard won Rookie of the Year in 2017-18 and is slowly growing into an All-Star. 76ers wasted the top pick from 2017 on Markelle Fultz, who was traded to the Orlando Magic 2 years later. But guess what? They won 52 games in 2017-18 and managed to reach the second round of the playoffs. During the 2018-19 season, the 76ers acquired All-Star Jimmy Butler and stud scorer Tobias Harris to complement Embiid and Simmons. The 76ers now have a brighter future than any other team in the Eastern Conference. Number 6, Miami Marlins, 1998 to 2002. In '97, the Florida Marlins shocked the world by defeating the powerhouse Cleveland Indians in the World Series, capturing the Commissioner's Trophy in a thrilling 7-game series. But the Marlins were also losing plenty of money and couldn't afford to keep their star players, so a major fire sale ensued. Top players like Kevin Brown, Gary Sheffield, and Bobby Bonilla were among the many names moved out in a series of trades. The Marlins did receive future All-Star Derek Lee and stud pitcher A.J. Burnett during the fire sale, though. The tanking mission also led to the Marlins selecting another future ace in Josh Beckett with a number 2 pick in 1999. The Marlins later traded for other quality pitchers in Dontrelle Willis and Brad Penny. All-Star outfielder Cliff Lloyd was traded to the Montreal Expos in 2003 in a package deal that brought over pitcher Carl Pavano. And finally, Florida would add superstar catcher Ivan Rodriguez and the lightning-fast Juan Pierre before the 2003 season. All of these players helped the Marlins nab a wildcard spot. They shocked Barry Bonds' San Francisco Giants in the wildcard round, took down the Chicago Cubs in the NLCS, and met the powerhouse New York Yankees in the World Series. And their combined might was too much to handle, and Florida won the World Series in 6 games, their second in franchise history. Number 5, Chicago Cubs, 2009 to 14. The Cubbies won back-to-back NL Central Division titles in 2007 and 8, but they were swept in the NLDS both times. It was time for a rebuild. All-star Derek Lee was traded to the Braves in 2010. Pitcher Ted Lilly was sent to the Dodgers that same year. At the beginning of 2011, standout pitcher Matt Garza was sent to the Texas Rangers. Later that year, the Cubs signed Theo Epstein to take over as president and help end their drought. Epstein had built the 2004 and 2007 Red Sox World Championship teams, and Jed Hoyer was hired as GM. In 2012, the Cubs acquired future All-Star first baseman Anthony Rizzo in a trade with the Padres. A year later, Chicago drafted future MVP Chris Bryant with the 2nd overall selection. The Cubs also hired 2-time AL Manager of the Year Joe Maddon for the 2015 season. Over time, the front office added future superstars like Addison Russell, Jake Arrieta, and John Lester. So how did this all turn out? The Cubs made the playoffs in 2015 and reached the NLCS. A year later, they won the 2016 World Series to finally end an 108-year drought. Chicago made the NLCS a 3rd straight year in 2017 and qualified for the NL wildcard game in 2018. Number 4, Cleveland Cavaliers, 2002-3. The Cavs were an NBA laughingstock as the 2002-03 season rolled around, having last made the playoffs in 1998. There were no signs that things were about to get better unless the Cavaliers could somehow get their hands on hometown kid and can't-miss generational prospect LeBron James in the 2003 draft. Cleveland lost 15 straight games early in the season, and as the campaign began to wind down, this team seemingly decided to tank. Zydrunas Ilgauskas, one of the team's top players, had his minutes cut down aplenty over the final month. Well, sure enough, the Cavaliers earned the top selection and took LeBron James. All he did was become the best player in the NBA and turn the Cavs into an Eastern Conference powerhouse. James took Cleveland to 5 NBA Finals in his career, leading the team to its first championship in 2016. John Lucas, who coached the Cavs in 2002-03 before getting fired halfway through the season, told AOL Fanhouse that the team tanked on purpose. He said they traded the vets so they could go real young, and the goal was to get LeBron and also sell the team. Number 3, Pittsburgh Penguins, 2002-2006. The Penguins reached the 2001 Eastern Conference Final, but they were eliminated by the New Jersey Devils in 5 games. That was the last chance to win a 3rd cup in the Mario Lemieux era. After the season, the Penguins would later trade fellow franchise face Jaromir Jagr to the Washington Capitals. Attendance and financial issues hovered over the Pens, who were among the NHL's worst teams every year from 2002-06. There were talks about this team having to relocate to Vegas, too. Luckily, a successful tank job breathed new life into the Penguins, and the city of Pittsburgh started embracing their hockey team again. The Penguins drafted future All-Star goalie Marc-Andre Fleury, 1st overall in 2003. A year later, they selected another future superstar in Evgeny Malkin with the 2nd overall pick. And in 2005, Pittsburgh won the draft lottery and drafted the best player of this era in Sidney Crosby. You've probably heard of him. That same year, they also drafted future number 1 defenseman Chris Letang with the 62nd pick. And finally, the Penguins would draft two-way center Jordan Staal at 2nd overall in 2006. Ownership stabilized, fan attendance went back up, and the Pens were suddenly good at hockey again. Oh, and this team won the Stanley Cup in 2009, 16, and 17, joining the number 2 team on our list as one of the only 2 NHL dynasties from the 2010s. Number 2, Chicago Blackhawks, late 90s to mid-2000s. The Blackhawks had their chances at a Stanley Cup in the 90s, led by Hall of Famers and goalie Ed Belfour, All-Star forward Jeremy Roenick, and defenseman Chris Chelios. But as their window began closing, late owner Bill Wirtz decided to ship away all of the franchise stars and fan favorites. Roenick went to the Phoenix Coyotes in 1996, Belfour to the San Jose Sharks in 97, and Chelios to the rival Detroit Red Wings in 1999. The Blackhawks then embarked on a run as one of the most embarrassing teams in North American sports. But even though this probably wasn't Wirtz's plan to perform a tank job that would last over a decade, it certainly worked out for the better. Dating back to 2002, Chicago drafted a bundle of future superstars that would help them create a Western Conference powerhouse. That list includes the following guys: These guys helped Chicago produce 3 Stanley Cup championships in 2010, 13, and 15. The Blackhawks made the playoffs every year from 2009 to 17. That included 5 total trips to the Western Conference Finals and 1 President's Trophy to go along with their dynasty. And number 1, Dallas Cowboys, 1988 to 1990. The Roger Staubach glory days were long gone, and the final half of the 80s decade was nothing short of embarrassing for America's team. In 1987, the Cowboys missed the playoffs and drafted Miami wideout Michael Irvin with the 11th selection in the 1988 NFL Draft. That same year, Pro Bowl running back and future Hall of Famer Tony Dorsett was traded to the Denver Broncos. And after an abysmal, embarrassing 3-13 season, Jerry Jones bought the team and fired the legendary Tom Landry, which did not sit well with Cowboys fans. In the long run, it turned out to be one of the better moves in Dallas's tankathon. Jones hired Jimmy Johnson to take over as coach, and the rest is history. Dallas selected quarterback Troy Aikman with the 1st overall pick in 1989. Later that year, the Cowboys traded star running back Herschel Walker to the Minnesota Vikings for 5 players and a huge bundle of picks. Some of those picks turned into all-time rushing leader Emmitt Smith and Pro Bowl safety Darren Woodson. The tank job paid off big time. The Cowboys were the most successful NFL team of the 90s, winning 3 Super Bowl championships. Aikman, Smith, and Irvin became known as the Triplets, and we haven't seen a trio as successful and as accomplished as these guys ever since. Yep, this is easily the greatest sports tank job of all time. Which do you think is the most successful tank job in sports history? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.